Maxine, how you doing? It's good to have you on the podcast today.
I'm doing really, really great, Adam. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No, good, good. You're very welcome. It's great to have you on. And yeah, I just thought I'd start by kind of asking about how you kind of got into what you're doing at the minute, and a little bit about your backstory. That's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, sure. Absolutely, absolutely. So right now I founded a professional services firm called The
Mm,
Future is Greater. So we help individual clients and corporate clients basically achieve their goals, get
mm,
extraordinary results. For individuals, that might look like thriving in their career while also maintaining an amazing personal life. For companies, it might look like keeping their teams engaged, helping individuals do that, within a company. And
yeah.
it's quite random because when you ask me how I got to this, I never intended to run a company. I never intended to be doing any of this.
Mm,
We work with clients now on 5 continents, and it just blows my mind because actually, I grew up in Nigeria. I was born in Nigeria into a family of four. So it's my mom, my dad, and literally four siblings. And my parents were, they are amazing people. They took us to church. I kind of had like a Sunday school upbringing, very
yeah,
introverted,
yeah,
very quiet. And most of my childhood literally in a book, one book or another. But the thing with, and I know you're a life coach, I love the what you're doing helping people. So you
oh,
understand
thank
that,
you.
process feelings and process things that are going on and you keep it bottled up,
Mm,
something is going to give at some point. So like pretty much every other family, we had our difficulties, growing up. And there was tensions and arguments and things happening that I never really dealt with. I kind of just bottled things up.
mm,
Or like, just kept reading my books or whatever until one day, my family moved from Nigeria to the UK, where I've lived now on and off for over 30 years. And one day, after years of bottling things up, I just literally snapped. I
mm,
snapped. I said, I'm sick of this. I'm tired of, you trying to control me. I'm tired of like, ruining my life. I'm gonna go find freedom was my big
yeah.
thing. I literally ran away from home in my teens.
Mm,
And it was so, I look back now and I'm thinking, oh my God, who was that crazy chick? Because it was literally one stupid mistake after the next stupid mistake after the next stupid mistake. It started with a
mm,
little guy, then getting involved in drugs, getting involved in all kinds of crazy stuff, wound
yeah.
up homeless, I just literally had nowhere to live. And the weird thing is, I'm talking about it now, it just sounds so shocking to the me now, but then I didn't really care. It was like I was digging myself into rock bottom. But
Mm,
there came a day, and I'm going to get to a point of how this leads to what I'm doing now, because literally what I'm doing now is helping people, you know, almost realize that there is nothing that is impossible for you to achieve. So
mm,
typically, we're living right now in a crisis. We're living in a time where, so much is going wrong, and it can be scary. It can feel like, so uncertain, and feels impossible to succeed. I'm here. If people only leave one message from this, nothing is impossible. Like
mm,
literally anything that you want to achieve is possible for you. And that's what I do in my business. And that belief was basically implanted in me one scary day. Pretty scary, scariest things are now where it feels so out of control. It feels like, oh my
mm,
God, what in the world is going on? A lot of people are going through that now through no fault of their own because of the pandemic. This time, though, like 20 years back, for me, I had created this perfect storm because I
mm,
was now homeless. I dropped out of school. I was an addict. I was down to my last few pounds. So anybody who's not in the UK, that's the money here. And I literally had no hope. And I remember a friend who was kind of living this crazy lifestyle. She said to me, let's go meet this guy, he can like, we can work for him. We don't have to do too much. We'll make loads of money. Do you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, of course I want to go. And then I went along, but the realization of what I was getting myself into didn't really hit me until we walked into that room and the
mm,
stench of the place literally hit me in the face. And I began to panic, Adam. I was like literally visibly shaking. Like
yeah.
my heart was like in my chest, like it was going to jump out. And I remember thinking, what in the world am I doing here? Like, what in the world am I doing here? I literally want to be a doctor growing up. How can I literally have lost every possibility of having a job and be coming
Mm,
to this guy? In case you haven't figured it out, this guy was literally a pimp looking for women. And
yeah.
what in the world am I doing here? And I began to panic. And I must have like zoned out because the next thing I remember was this guy like literally snapping me out of my thoughts saying, you know how much you're supposed to charge, right? And I'm like, I haven't got a clue. Like literally, what do you charge? Like, I don't know. And that just literally panicked me. I was thinking, how in the world, like, do I get out of this? Like, I had never felt so ashamed. I've never felt so alone. I'd never felt so disgusted. I just literally had no idea what to do, just stood there panicking. And I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And it was like he kind of got into my mind because I was thinking I can't do this. And he's like, what choice do you have anyway? And he was right, because I literally, people like me didn't have any choice but to work for him. And I just remember thinking, oh my God, but I can't do this. How can this be my choice, my only choice? And then like one more thought crossed my mind. It was like, how in the world do I get out of this? How in the world do I get out of this? And in that moment, like it was as if, like I can hear your voice. Something within me said, this is not who you're supposed to be. You're meant for so much more. And I'm like, I don't know who or what that is, but I want to believe that more than anything in this life. So I literally grabbed onto that, and that gave me what I needed to run out of that room into the freezing cold Soho Street in London. And cold air had never felt so amazing. I still had no money, had no plans, had nothing, but just knowing within me that I was meant for more. And literally following that voice, I've come to know that voice as the voice of God, guided me. I was able to get back in the school system, graduate with like the first class degree from my uni in Wales, went to Cambridge, traveled around the world, representing Cambridge as their vice president. This kind of catapulted my career. I became one of the best in my industry and literally built this mind-blowing career. You know, met and married the love of my life, had 2 incredible kids. And I say all of that to say, not how special I am, because I believe we are all that special. Say nothing is impossible. Literally, when that guy said to me, what choice do you have anyway? In the natural, he was right. People like me didn't have any choice but to kind of keep digging into rock bottom until they end up dead somewhere, right? But nothing is impossible. And I chose to believe that voice that said, this is not who you're meant to be, you're meant for so much more. And this has been the foundation I built everything on. So later on, I went on to have my first daughter. We were living in Norway at the time. I've lived all over the world, but we happened to be living in Norway. And it's an amazing place to be if you're a woman having kids. I wish everybody had this right. We get like 1 year off for maternity, which is amazing. But I was one year paid. So I was this busy, like, executive flying around the world with IBM. That's the company I worked for at the time. And I loved it. And then I was suddenly from this high flying sales executive to this stay at home mom for a year. And to the outside world looking in, I had everything. I had the man, I had the house, I had the baby, I had everything, but I was miserable. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like, how am I going to survive this year? And I know it sounds so ungrateful, but I think any new mother who's like sleep deprived will kind of get where I'm going with it. So I remember like being one night up in the bathroom, like literally just thinking, God, I feel so ungrateful. I should be grateful, but I am grateful, but not really. I need a miracle. I need something. And I prayed for a miracle. And literally, I got this divine download, study, go do some part-time studies. And I'm like, okay, fine, 10, 15 hours part-time study, get some adult stimulation, conversation, whatever. And then you can spend the whole year, looking after your baby, loving her, and then studying. I thought, yeah, perfect. And that night I went to bed feeling like, yeah, I'm going to do this. Woke up the next day. I'd never seen a Facebook ad in my life. I didn't even know such a thing existed. I saw my first Facebook ad ever saying, do you have 10, 15 hours a week for part-time studies? I was like, yeah. Do you like helping people? Yeah. Do you want to be a transformational coach? I'm like, what is that? And I basically clicked on it. Long story short, spent my maternity leave studying on this program, which is a year-long program of becoming a transformational coach, pull in all your experiences to help people really achieve their goals, about life coaching. And for me, I've taken that same philosophy that's stuck with me since that day, that night in Soho. Anything is possible for you. Nothing is impossible. So kind of a long-winded way to tell you that I feel like, what I'm doing right now, there wasn't a big strategy. I really believe I was divinely guided. And I really believe that anyone who's open to it, that divine guidance is there.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean that's such an incredible, story from what you said, and how it's possible to change your life around and turn your life around in a split second if you choose to, and how anything's possible, and how you was in that situation at home where you wasn't happy, and you're going through all these different things, but you decided to make that shift, make that change, and move out and get out of that situation to better yourself. And yeah, I think like to be where you're at now, and everything that you kind of come through is like really motivational. And I think like it just shows you that there is a way out, there is a way to make a change and make a difference in your life, and that you can flip that around and use that, you're using that experience, as well to help other people. And I think that's, priceless, isn't it? To have a positive impact on other people.
Yeah, no, for me, there's no better feeling in the world. I love, obviously my family, I love, people closest to me, but beyond that, just being able to help people see, to achieve what they didn't think was possible, to help them, just see new possibilities, step into who they're meant to be. There's no greater feeling for me than that. And actually, another part of that, another beautiful thing that my work allows me to do, I should have mentioned, is me and my clients, everything that we do in the business, part of that goes to help people in need. So people who are currently homeless, people who are widowed or orphans. We want to help. I think their dreams matter. I think helping them realize nothing is impossible also matters. So that for me, being able to help people through my work and being able to help people who can't help themselves, could never potentially invest in my work right now, that is also such a beautiful thing. And I think when you're in so much pain, as all of us in some way, shape, or form have been in this year, one of the most beautiful things you can do is reach out to help another person. It doesn't even have to be as a coach or consultant, or like you, a coach like you and I are. You can just be like, reach out and help somebody else. Because even if you're in pain, it takes off your focus from you, because whatever you're focusing, I've noticed whatever you focus on, that expands, right? So in that moment, back in that room in Soho, when that guy told me, oh, you'll amount to nothing, if I had focused on that, that would have expanded. I would have stayed with him probably and be dead right now. But I chose to focus in on you're meant for more, and that expanded by the grace of God into my life now.
Yeah, no, completely. I find like you said, in that situation where, he said, what choice do you have? I think, like you said, if you would have focused kind of so much on the negative, it can be easy to get stuck in that. And, like you kind of had that kind of voice to kind of come through. And I think that's the kind of like quite amazing thing, about being a person, isn't it? There's kind of like, I think there's more than what we're actually seeing, if that makes sense. Like there's kind of like higher power, spirituality, or God, or or part of ourselves, whatever that may be. But I think that does definitely exist. And I think in certain situations where it's kind of like life or death, or it's situations like that, part something, part of us, or whatever it is, can kind of help us in that situation. I find if we really kind of tune into that. And I think like that's something you did as well. And it's
I think it's so significant what you just said, Adam, because for me that was the big shift. Up until that moment in that room, there was nothing else. Like, God, I was aware of God. I'd gone to Sunday school my whole life. But in a way, I kind of laugh and joke about it, saying I was like God's granddaughter, because God was like my mom and dad's God, right? And I kind of went along. And, God was just, this kind of angry person trying to beat you up, when you've done something wrong. And who cares? But then, this whole thing about kind of God meeting me in this, probably the most terrifying moment of my life till this day, meeting me and being very real to me, I was like, oh, wow, I didn't really know him as God. And I just knew it was like, I want to listen to that as opposed to what I'm surrounded with right now, right? So I've come to know that as God, and now God is definitely not my grandfather, my own father. I've come to know, so trust me, I could literally collapse for you like 20 years of transformation. As you can imagine, within years, there's been so many struggles, because getting over addiction is not easy. Getting over people that you can't hang around with anymore because they're bad for you, and setting those firm, loving boundaries. All of that work, I've had literally God guide me when I didn't even know what coaching was as my coach. And there is something more. I mean, maybe your listeners might not resonate with this, but it really is true, whether you believe in God or not. Because if you look at it scientifically, everything, like you, me, my laptop I'm using right now, your phone, whatever, all is made up of atoms. Atoms are literally the building block of our world, right? The mountain, the stuff, everything. And if you look at atoms, which are the building block of everything, there's a part of the atom that you can physically see, and there's a part of the atom that you can't see. There's kind of space or energy around the nucleus. And if you look at the size comparisons of those, the part you can see versus the part you can't see, the part you can see, let's say that's the size of a peanut. The part of the atom that you can't see is the size of like a football stadium, like baseball, Premier League football stadium, whatever. It's huge. So 99.99999% of what all of us are made up of is empty space, or more accurately, energy. This is scientific fact. So there is so much more to life than what the eye can see, is that point. So if anybody's kind of going around thinking, oh yeah, there's nothing more than, you know, what I can see, you're so mistaken. You know, seeing is not believing, as we tend to say. You know, I've come to know that believing is seeing, because, you know, this peanut size thing of what you can see, if you focus on that, it's kind of negating the fact that there's all this possibility. So I like to say to my clients, you know, when they come and say, oh, but this, but this, but this, I'm like, this is peanut thinking. Let's tap into possibilities, because you meet everything, there's like so much. And the more you can kind of go away, if you don't like what you're seeing in the peanut, you can access, you know, through, I like to call it spirituality, you know, accessing God's help into something else with possibilities, and call that forth into what you can see. So there is so much more, so much more.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. And I think like, it's like, law of attraction and energy and, you know, kind of how the universe works, isn't it? You know, like, I think if you sometimes focus on the bad, you'll kind of attract the bad. And, you know, like if you think negatively or positively, and like you said, there's far much out there than what we can kind of see. And that, you know, it's all about, you know, energy, isn't it? Like you kind of, if you're around certain people, you know, people are on different vibrations. And I think like what you said about being in that place around those kind of people, you know, if you know you're doing drugs and things like this, you know you're on a certain vibration, and you're gonna be attracting those people. And I think that's one of the key things about, you know, being around the right people, isn't it? I think that's something that I've learned. I mean, I was around the wrong people at school, doing certain things, you know, getting involved in fights and things like that, and you know, trying to please people as well. And I think when you're caught up in that loop, you can't really see it until you kind of come out of it, or sometimes something has to happen for you to kind of wake up. Like for me, it's falling through a roof. So,
wow.
So,
oh my God.
So
that'll give you a wake up call.
yeah. So, but yeah, I fell through a skylight on a roof, and that's how I had PTSD later on. But so, I mean, some things shouldn't happen for people to kind of take a step back and look at their lives. And sometimes it is those kind of like crazy scenarios that make you really think. And I think like for you as well, you know, being in that scenario where you could have just been sucked into that horrible situation, but do you know what I mean? Through that scenario, you took a step back and you really kind of thought about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And my heart goes out to you. My goodness, that must have just been so traumatizing for you and your loved ones. But yeah, you're right. You know, sometimes when something sort of shocking happens, I think we have a choice. You know, I don't think it automatically happens that, oh yeah, you know, I'm going to fall through a roof and then suddenly I'm going to, you know, make my life better. You know, we always have a choice. Like, do I let this consume me, or do I kind of go for something better, right? I had the choice to either just believe what like the truth, or do I go for something better? And I think I'm hoping that people don't find themselves in extreme situations like both you and I have been through, because you can actually make that decision without having the big drama. And in fact, that's a big part of my message right now. Like, please don't wait for like some earth-shattering thing to happen for you to choose and live your best life, regardless of what's going on in the economy, regardless of what's going on, you know, in the world. I'm not belittling the fact that people have lost their lives. My heart goes out to every single person who has lost a loved one. You know, it's so real. This painful, this is scary, but I also know that we all have a choice, and there really is no need to be afraid. And I think one powerful thing to begin to attract the right sort of people, to attract the right sort of things to help you on your way, is the power of a vision. You know, and sometimes when I say, oh, you know, what's your vision? I ask people, what's your vision? People think, oh, I don't know. And you know, my vision was my purpose. I don't know. And it doesn't have to be some big groundbreaking thing either. Like when I ran out of that room, my biggest vision was, I don't want that. You know, I don't want to, you know, and of course you need a bigger vision to kind of create bigger things, but you've got to start somewhere. So sometimes, you know, it might just be, what is the very next step? And I then like to ask people as well, like, if anything was possible, what would you do? Because right now, like, you know, so many things have happened. People have had one thing after the next, after the next, after the next, after the next happen to them. And they've just been beaten down by 2020, and even before 2020, in my case, so many things were going wrong. And it can be so easy to be like, oh, I just want to survive and stay, and I just want to survive as a vision. And that might be okay to get you to run out of the room like I did. But I think to really thrive and create this kind of life that is just mind-blowing, regardless of what's going on, it's so important to have a clear vision of who you want to be and where you want to go. Because once you have that in mind, you know who's not good for it. So for me, one thing that happened when I ran out of that room, I was like, okay, yes, I don't have to do this. And I was like, okay, now what? I'm like freezing. I have nowhere to go. Like, now what? And I was like, the next kind of vision I got was go learn. And I'm like, learn. I'm like, the whole night I was pondering on what does learn mean? And it just so turned out, I don't know if they still do this, right? But at that time, this was years ago, decades ago now. But at that time, when you're kind of applying for uni, all the good students, everybody kind of said, okay, they give you these results you've got to get before they let you into uni. So I dropped out, I didn't get my results. But there's a process called clearing. So when all the good students who got all the results kind of got their university places, there's some spaces left for the universities want to fill. So if you haven't got your results, you can go through this process called clearing to be offered a space. And it just so happened at that time when I was hearing learn, I'm like, what is learn? I happened to walk past a newspaper stand and realize, oh, clearing, you can actually phone up. And even if you don't have grades, you might be able to get into uni. So that was my next vision of like, okay, I've got to get back into the school system. And the more you kind of keep some sort of vision in front of you of what you're working towards, then you know who is good for it and who can help you on it and who is not so good for it. So as I began to realize, okay, my vision, my next thing is to go learn, I quickly knew that these people that are going to come take me to these interviews are not the people for this vision. And then you've got to, already you talked about energy, you talked about vibration. I was in the vibration of I'm rising out of this, I'm rising out of this. I don't care what it takes, I'm rising out of it. Anybody else who's like, oh, let's just get high, let's go, that is a different vibration and I wasn't available for it. So there's something about, like we're talking about energy and so much about what you can't see. To the naked eye, I was still this person who was this low life, but in the energy realm, I was like this, rising. And as you say, as you're rising, the people who are not on that level, and this is not to belittle them or to judge them, because I was once one of those people, but they're not for that vision. They're not for who you're meant to be. So I think just being aware of this energetic world and that whole dynamic as well that's happening beyond what the eye can see is so powerful. And we talked about the law of attraction. We talked about, you're attracting, some of these things. I do kind of understand that these laws exist. But I also think something I've come into, some understanding I've come into quite recently is that a lot of that, there's so much truth in it. Like you do attract, when you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, things continue to go wrong because you keep, it just spirals. When you have the good vibes, you have gratitude and, things spiral. There's so much there's truth in that. But I think even beyond all of that, there is almost another level I'm discovering, because I'm always learning. There's another level I'm discovering of almost, it's not my responsibility. I don't know how I can put this. So it is my responsibility to choose my energy. It's my responsibility to raise my vibration. If I'm in myself, it's my energy to kind of be in gratitude, because I believe that connects me to God and connects me to all the goodness that is there for me. But there comes a time where I'm kind of sensing that the law of attraction and all of these theories almost put it all on your shoulders to kind of achieve it. So if you don't stay high vibe enough, then you don't kind of attract what is meant for you. And I think, no, that's not a responsibility for me to carry, because actually, yes, of course, I'm going to do all of these things to stay in a high vibe and do all of that. But God's going to bless me. God, I received my biggest blessings sometimes when I wasn't in a high vibe state, because God blessed me. So I've come into the understanding that yes, some of that is very, very true, but it's not all on my shoulders like those laws suggest, because actually some of my most amazing breakthroughs have come through when I'm just like, God, I need a miracle. And I haven't been in a high vibe state that, these laws suggest that you need to be. So that's kind of the evolution of my thinking around it. I'm saying there's a lot of truth in it for sure, but I don't take the aspect of it that puts it all on my shoulders, because I've seen that many, many times where actually I'm like, my energy's low, I surrender, I need your help, I need a miracle. Enough. So I don't know, is this making sense? I feel like
yeah. No. It makes it makes perfect sense. I can relate to that, and I think there's a whole kind of stigma, but there's a whole kind of thing about law of attraction, and like you said, there are core things in it that are real. But I think, like you said, you don't have to always be in that kind of state to kind of use it. And I think sometimes, like you said, in uncomfortable situations, or if we feel a certain way, things can kind of open up for us. So it's not like you have to always be in that vibe.
Yeah.
Like, I think we have to kind of give ourselves a break sometimes, because we are human beings, and
Yeah.
you are going to have days that aren't the same as the other days.
Yeah.
Which kind of like alleviates that pressure, I find, as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, we're humans' shoulders were never meant to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders and be the one that kind of is responsible for manifesting any and everything. Because there was nothing I did in that room in Soho going to interview for that kind of job to attract the biggest breakthrough of my life. So if it was up to me, like, that wouldn't have happened. So there's a lot of truth, but I think the whole personal responsibility of like, no, I don't receive that. I really do agree with what you were saying about something higher. I call mine God, because he's literally to me. This is not even, people say, oh, how can you believe in a God? Like, it's so stupid. I'm like, well, it may be stupid, but literally I could talk to you for weeks about my personal breakthroughs of how, when you're breaking through from addiction, for example. Like, I was smoking, I don't know how many cigarettes a day at that time when I went to uni, still puffing away, going to lectures. And I remember one day, like, God will meet you where you are at, right? I remember literally smoking away, thinking, oh my gosh, like, just come from this lecture in the University of Wales at this point. I'm like walking around just thinking, oh my gosh, like, I don't even have any money to buy cigarettes. Like, God, if you're real, why would you even let me smoke? This is something I chose to do, right? Just smoking away. I said, God, if you're real, why would you even let me smoke? Anyway, went along with my day. And then the next day, I remember just, going around just thinking, there's something really different about today. I don't know what it is. And the whole day I'm like, there's something different about today. And it was only until I was walking home from school, the very same spot, that I had said, oh God, if you're real, why would you let me smoke? I walked past someone who just happened to blow some cigarette smoke out of their mouth. And I realized, I haven't touched a cigarette today. And literally, it was in the instant I said, why would you let me smoke, that the addiction left me. And that was a miracle. And I've had so many things like that happen to me that I'm just like, okay, you're real. Like, you're so real.
That's amazing.
Yeah. God will meet you. Now my prayers are more respectful, but that was the level I prayed at, because that's who I was. So
no, I definitely, I think, like, there are other avenues you can tap into, isn't there? And I think like with energy and spirituality and higher power, I think there is definitely something there, because it's like how else to explain what kind of went on for you. And I think sometimes some people have to kind of experience it themselves to kind of like go, okay, well, I believe that. I've had, I won't get too much into it, but I've had spiritual things happen where I've picked up on things and I explain it to people and they kind of don't understand. But sometimes people have to kind of experience it themselves, I think, to then realize. But I think it's definitely real. As well, like with your profile, like you've been featured in Huffington Post and Success Magazine and Thrive Global. Like, did you ever think that that would ever happen?
I didn't even know what those were.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Like no, it's so funny. I contribute to those. I'm a contributor to those on an ongoing basis still with Thrive Global, and it's mind blowing. And to me, this is the scripture I love in the Bible that says God's able to do infinitely, abundantly above all you can ask, think, imagine. And if I think of that girl who ran out of that room, like, all I, was dreaming about was like, oh, how do I, pay for the next day to survive, right? That was the level of dreaming I was at. So to be featured in some of these amazing publications, I wasn't anywhere near the frequency to dream that. And I think that anybody, like I say, we're all that special. Whatever it is that would be so amazing for you to achieve in your career, it's possible for you. And it doesn't have to be this kind of, it sounds a bit, you and I have been talking about this spirituality. It sounds so kind of out. But I think this is something that you can bring into your every single day to achieve whatever it is you would want to achieve. You're more, that thing. So if you're feeling held back by what's going on right now, if you're feeling like, oh my goodness, when's this pandemic going to be over? When are you going to go back to normal? Well, I think everybody can see we're not going back to normal. You can start, saying, okay, how can I thrive? How can I go from beyond surviving? You can get tools, and I have loads of free tools, by the way. Just reach out, I can share them with you that you can use. Start accessing divine guidance for your current situation. Because I think a lot of the time people struggle to have these mind-blowing things, whether it's like, publications that you never dream about being, contributing to them. Where do I begin from where I am right now? And it's quite simple. Just get a divine guidance, and then really using your skills, everybody's the best in the world at something, right? So discovering what is it I'm the best in the world at, and really applying that divine guidance in the best possible way for who you are. That's literally what I help people do. So access these kind of mind-blowing ideas that are kind of out there, given the current situation, and then using the tools that you have, we all have, to bring them to life in a way that you only are designed to do. That's so powerful. It's so available to every single one of us.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I think, like you said, we've all kind of got the tools within us, haven't we? It's just kind of like a matter of like kind of how we kind of are seeing things. And sometimes it's that just that lens almost that I think that people have sometimes, that's like wearing a pair of glasses that you can't really see clearly through. It's just kind of like, sounds a lot simpler than, being able to do it. But, that just kind of changing that lens of how we see things, isn't it? And
I think it's so powerful that you say, because you can't become what you can't see. So I love that you use that terminology. So seeing things, and I love that you also mentioned it's not easy, but it's not meant to be done alone as well. I love that there's so many amazing. You're an amazing coach, Adam. There's people like me. There's so many people out there who are
you as well
to help. There's people. I've literally built a community of people. Where they're all helping each other on their journey. So you don't have to be alone with whatever you're going through, and you don't have to be alone in terms of figuring it out. There's a lot of people who have made the mistakes, go make some of the stupid mistakes that I have made, not even necessarily with that kind of extreme situation I described, even like in my career, even in my, as a mother trying to juggle career and life. There's mistakes, there's things I've learned along the way from working with clients on 5 continents now. You working your clients and all the people you've interviewed, you have a breadth of experience and knowledge that people can use to shortcut wherever they're trying to go. So I see the biggest mistakes sometimes a lot of people make is trying to reinvent the wheel, or feeling like, oh, well, I've got to kind of carry the whole world on my shoulders. And bottom line is we're never meant to do life alone. Like, we are connected by energy, we are connected. And once you start tapping into people who are aligned energetically to where you want to go, you can really collapse the timeline to get there. I would say to anybody who's thinking, oh, well, it's not easy and I can't really see how. Well, it's not going to be if you're on your own. The fact you're listening to this is, yay, great. But then you can connect to people. You can reach out to Adam to coach you. You can reach out to me, like, if you feel like I can help you, there's people to help you see those blind spots that you can't see and help you, like I say, collapse the timeline to where you want to
go. Yeah, no, totally. I think that's really, really important, isn't it? And I think sometimes people think they need to have it all figured out, or they. I think especially in today's world, like society, there's a lot of pressure on people to have things figured out. And I think as well, like, people don't sometimes always want to reach out, or they because I think it takes a lot, doesn't it, to literally just have that kind of first consultation, or just to literally kind of ask for help. And I think it's quite powerful by someone doing that, because through over time they can really change. And
and it's so important that you say that, because a lot of people do feel like, oh, I've got to feel like I've got it figured out. Let me let you into a secret. Nobody has it figured out. Like, who saw 2020 coming, right? Nobody has it figured out. If anybody tells you they've got it figured out, like, I want to check their pulse, right? So we are living in times of uncertainty. But that's not to say that, then nobody can help me, because there's people who are more used to navigating uncertainty. There are people who are skilled in training you your mindset. I heard you were learning your NLP, different things like that, to help you kind of, align your belief system. So you're taking actions in the uncertainty in a way that's conducive to where you want to go. So nobody has it figured out, number one. And reach out for help, because even if nobody has it figured out, there's people that know how to navigate based on their past experience and or their training. And it's so funny. People are like, oh, but how can I reach out? That initial conversation, I get it, but trust me, every single quantum leap I've ever made into anything that people are like, oh my gosh, that's so impressive, started off from me reaching out to somebody that I was like, Like, you know, literally, like I had the audacity, given my background, to apply to Cambridge University. And now, for anybody who doesn't know, Cambridge is like the Harvard of the UK, like
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
best universities in the world. I had the audacity to apply to them because I reached out to somebody who had gone to Harvard, and she was like, oh, she might as well have
Yeah.
like angel wings and a halo. Like when I first met her, and yeah, at this point in my career, you know, her name is this woman just literally changed my life, mind blowing woman. At this time in my life, I was kind of finished my first degree. I was working in the UK banking system as a consultant, doing credit risk, you know, really writing code for banks, right, to make decisions. And it was great because I was good at it. But I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I going to do this forever? I'm like, I think I'm going to be bored. Like, I'm going to need more than this, but I'm not sure what. I had no clue. And in comes this angel from Harvard. You know, she just got her Harvard MBA, and she might as well have come from heaven because I was like, oh, I want to be just like. And I was like,
Hogwarts.
how in the world? Well, I want more. She looks like she has more. I think I'm going to reach out to her. And that was what we were talking about just now, Adam. And I kind of was like, do you mind if I just speak to you about something, about my career? She's like, sure. And then we talked and we blah, blah, blah. And she's like, well, to be honest, you've done really well in your undergrad. You're doing well. It sounds like you need to do like an MBA. And I thought, okay, well, I can do an MBA. She's like, yeah, I'm going to help you apply to Harvard. And that was the first time in my life anybody ever told me I could go to that kind of university. And it was just from this, like I say, getting clear on the vision. My vision at that point was, I don't know that I want to be doing this for the rest of my life. I want something more. I don't really know what more is. So my only vision was to get clarity on what's my next purpose. So that's what I'm saying about having that vision. And then seeing this person come in, I'm like, okay, she's out of my league, but I don't care. What's the worst that can happen? She's gonna say no, right? But she didn't say no. She then goes on to mentor me for free to put together this incredible application. There's a test you have to do to kind of get into universities, and you know, you have to train really hard. She taught me how to, you know, do really well. I end up scoring like the 98th percentile in the whole world. So like top 2% of the people do the thing. She helps me put together an incredible application to Harvard. I didn't get into Harvard, but again, I think that was divine redirection because at that time, you know, just Harvard wasn't right for me. But guess what? That quality of university, Cambridge, they do want you to get the high score, which she trained me to get. They do want you to have the incredible essays that you have to write. She trained me to do that for Harvard. So I was able to replicate everything she did for Cambridge. And within like, I think a month of getting declined from Harvard, I was into Cambridge and had the most incredible transformative year of my life. And I say all of that to say, I was scared thinking, I don't want to like a few months before that. So I would say if you're looking at Adam thinking he can coach me, I'm a bit nervous. Write to him, you know, because that could be the next step that gives you the most unbelievable breakthrough and just opens up so much for you. If you want to reach out to me about something, reach out to me because, like I say, experience things, I've helped people. That could be the next step to something, some new dimension that you're not even dreaming about right now. So I would say, you know, most people are human beings. We all wake up uncertain. We all are unnerved by what's going on in the news. We all we eat, we drink, we shower, we go to the bathroom, pick up the phone, contact people, because your next level probably is going to be outside of your comfort zone. So just do it. Like Nike say, just do it.
Yeah. No, I love that, and I love what you said, and I find like, you know, that you know, never thought that you'd be, you know, going to university and, you know, Cambridge, and I think like you said, it's amazing, you know, sometimes the people that you can just connect with, you know, and just kind of like you say, reaching out to people and networking, and it's like if you want to, you know, reach that to that person, you know, that might not have happened. And it just takes that leap, doesn't it? Kind of.
And most you're going to get is ignored, and no never killed anybody, right? If you get no, next, end of. So I think a lot of people fear, and myself included, a lot of people fear rejection, but no never killed anybody. Like if you look at anybody who's like a great success right now, and you ask them, how many times did you try? How many times did you so-called fail? They'll tell you probably hundreds, thousands of times. Like Thomas Edison, 10,000 goes, you know, to help us have light right now. So I say, you know, what people call failure or the no or whatever that you're so scared of, it's not failure. It's just data on the way to your success. Just feedback. Move on to the next.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think, like you said, like no never killed anyone, and I think like it's just like you say, data, isn't it? It's kind of you know, there are lessons along the way, aren't they? And I think like I've applied for jobs and other things not work out for me, and I think that's kind of all kind of experience. And would you say, you know, things not working out kind of like can build like resilience?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, definitely. Things not working out, definitely build resilience. And it definitely redirects you because sometimes you're like, oh, I really, really want to do something. And if only, and then you get a no, and it's like a knife in the heart. So I remember
Mm,
like, for me, like Harvard, like I had literally put together one of the most incredible applications. Now, and I'm not saying that to say, oh, how great I am. I literally had somebody who sees the applications help me do it. Like she literally
mm,
helped me do it. She was even going to be my reference. She was one of their star students. And then I had to pack my bags. I was waiting to go to Boston where they're based. So I'm like ready. And I'm waiting to hear from them. And then, literally, I think you have up until the decision day to be called for an
yeah.
interview. The whole way till the decision day, I hear nothing. On the decision day, I receive an email saying, unfortunately, we're not going to have you. That was like a kick in the stomach. Like it
Mm,
was just so awful. But like you say, not only does it build your resilience, it was divine redirection. Because when I was applying to go into Harvard, Harvard is a 2-year MBA program. Now, I was applying to go start my MBA in 2007. If I
mm,
had gone into, Harvard, I would have done the 2-year program and graduated in 2009. You might be like, okay, so what? Well, I didn't get into Harvard. I went into Cambridge, which is a 1-year program. I did
mm,
that and graduated in 2008 and got a job just before Lehman Brothers collapsed and the whole world collapsed into recession. And the
yeah.
people that were graduating from Harvard the next year, so many of them had the tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt that you take to go and no job because
Mm,
companies are falling down left, right, and center and not hiring, no matter how good people are. So
mm,
that for me was divine redirection, not
mm,
only to allow me to step into the company I was able to go step into, but also just personality wise, the whole Harvard structure, the way they learn, it's not my style. So I like
no.
the name. Well, I wanted to go to Harvard, but the way they do stuff is you got to get up and it's a case method where you kind of argue, speak up in class, and you get graded on how much you speak up in class. That is so not like me. I'm an introvert. Like, yes, I'm intelligent enough to kind of put forward a case, but it's not like this where I want to be competing for points in class on that basis. But that's how 10% of your grades are based on what you say in class. And sometimes I
Wow.
may not say anything, and you'd be failed, like you lose 10%. So this was so not aligned with who I am, number
Mm,
one. I would have been miserable for 2 years. And
mm,
secondly, I needed to graduate 1 year earlier to get the job I did, to impact the people I did through my career in
mm,
technology and IBM. So I say all of that to say, sometimes the no that you fear could be the biggest blessing. It could be
mm,
redirection. You got to know from different opportunities, but now you are doing what you're meant to
mm,
be doing, interviewing
mm,
people, changing lives, sharing positive vibes and messages that are
mm,
impacting people. So sometimes that no is divine. And not even sometimes, usually that no is divine
mm,
redirection. And there's so many more things I could tell you about how my no have been like devastating at the time, but have been
mm.
like, oh, thank God. Like when I've realized later on what
Yeah.
it's doing for me.
Wow. No, it's pretty amazing, isn't it, when you think about it and you kind of reflect on that and
Mm,
how, you know, certain events like that can literally kind of redirect you down a different kind of like course, you know, avenue in life. And how sometimes, you know, those no's and those rejections or things not working out are probably some of the best things that have happened
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah,
You know, that then lead that person onto another course to then do something else.
yeah,
And like you said, it is amazing. I think, you know, like I really, you know, respect you for what, you know, everything that you've done and you know what that you're doing. And I think it's really like, you know, motivational as well. And I think it gives people hope. I think it gives people hope, you know, if they're stuck or if they're not too sure where they want to go in life, you know, or if they're experiencing something difficult that, you know, they really can change, and
yeah,
they can also like, you know, reach out, you know, to you
yeah.
or some, you know, or myself or, you know, somebody who's there.
And you'll know who you vibe with, like, so you might,
Mm,
they might just take a look, listen to you a few shows, like, yeah, I'm going to reach out to Adam. Or maybe there's something about what I've
mm,
said that might resonate. Just reach out. The most you're going to get, you're not
yeah.
going to get from me, you'll at least get an answer from me and all my
Mm,
team. Just reach
yeah.
out. What have you got to lose? Like, if you get no or silence, it's divine
Yeah.
redirection to what you're meant for. And I just want to say to anybody who's struggling, because these are such hard times, like for me, even included, I'm having my own challenges through this. But the same message, the same kind of encouragement I'm giving to you, I'm giving to myself, just saying, you know, this is not who you're meant to be. You're meant for so much more. So even through the pandemic, even through all the difficulties I've faced, I'm like, okay, God, what is the more I am meant for? And who can help me do this? And it's looked like, you know, getting the work of, you know, different coaches to help me, or getting the work of, like, you know, getting the support of different people, you know, reaching out to different things. So I am doing the same thing. I'm not like on some high and mighty pedestal saying, oh yeah, you go do this. I'm in it myself every single day, getting divine guidance to keep on not just trying to survive through this, but to thrive through this. And I believe that is available to each and every one of us, because I don't think we're meant to be squashed by the pain of everything that's going on. I think we're meant to transform that into power that gives us renewed purpose that then impacts so many people.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think it's so true, isn't it? And I think, like, as people, I think that I heard somebody say this once. It's like we're either I think Tony Robbins said it. Is it we're either thriving or surviving? Like what you just said. Like it's you know we're in one avenue or another. And I think, like, even if we, you know, you are going through difficult times, I think that can only kind of propel you to, like, you know, the next thing, can't it? Like you think back.
Yeah, even like one of my clients, you know, Nanush. She's like a young mom. She's got 2 kids, and she's a Black woman. And you know, all of this kicked off after the George Floyd murder in the US. You know, all the racial tensions, the riots, and everything. And she came to me so angry, like, you know, like, I just feel so upset by what's going on in the school system, how Black children are treated, and you know, all of this stuff. And it's almost like just trying to survive, like we we're just talking about, right? But then I kind of said, okay, yes, I get it. I understand that things are difficult right now for everybody, yeah, not just people of color, but everybody. But how are we going to thrive in this situation and not just try and survive? Because no, the whole world is not our enemy here. There's a few people who are racist that have turned everybody against each other. What can we do to thrive? Long story short, just helping her flip that pain into power and then purpose. This woman has now created, she has basically put together a proposal to her kids' school to help them adapt the curriculum so that it better teaches Black history throughout the years, so that people have better understanding, empathy, and respect for Black people. Her work has been recognized by the local MP, so this is like the government in her area. And the government are now working with her. She's writing a report that will be taken into Parliament probably and will impact the British school system from her pain. And you know, a lot of people kind of just look to survive or stay in the pain and the anger and forgiveness unnecessarily. And I'm like, no, you can always transform that. You know, when you're ready, you can always transform that into potentially something that will be a great benefit to so many people that you can imagine. This is something that's a benefit not just people of color, but so many other people who are trying to be good allies. Like, I want to help people of color. I don't know what to do. She is their answered prayer, helping them become fair, helping them on this journey to equality in the schools, in the British schools. I have so many stories of this in the corporate world, taking their pain and creating something amazing. So we have a choice, like we've been saying at the beginning. Am I just going to survive through this or get taken under by this? Or am I going to figure out what I need to thrive? Because the survival, that's focusing on the peanuts. There's this whole 99.999% playing field of possibility. You just need the right vision, the right individuals to really help you then go create something else so that we have better peanuts to look at. Hopefully it's making sense. I could talk about this for hours, but hopefully it's making sense.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense completely. And I think, like, it's amazing, like you said, how that person is using that pain and, you know, putting it.
I'm blown away. Every time she gives me another update, I get chills, because this started off, I'm like, I don't know what to do, I'm so angry. Her local MP recognized her in the street, like saying, oh my gosh, I heard the great work you've been doing. Like, I'm so excited to work with you. Huh?
It's amazing, isn't it? It just shows you, you know, like that, you know, like a lot of people probably wouldn't think certain things are possible, but, you know, like it is possible, you know, like you said, just by, you know, kind of like not react. Because I think when that happened, you know, a lot of people in that reaction mode, aren't they? I think, like, it's kind of taking that and kind of like responding in the right way, you know, like this person did, and you helped her to do that. which is, amazing. And
Yeah, no, we're either in reaction mode or creation mode, and I'm not like beat anybody up for being in reaction mode, because when the pandemic hit, you better believe I was in reaction mode until
everybody.
You teach this, get into creation, and that's when like beautiful things began to happen for me and in my life and in my clients' lives again.
Yeah, no, completely. I think we all kind of went through that, and I think I did. I remember like freaking out in the supermarket sometimes, and like yeah, yeah. I know, like I remember one time there was like there was literally like no toilet roll, like simple things you like tin beans. I remember tin beans, and being no beans and in chickpeas and Tesco, they'd all gone, and I was like, and there was no ginger, there was no
Nothing.
mint. Yeah, I was like, okay, cool, just
Armageddon. I was like,
yeah, have a pot noodle tonight. I got just a few questions before we wrap up as well. Like, who would you say like your role models are, whether that's like professionally or personally?
so many. I mean, probably you might laugh at this, but it's so true. My daughter is like one of my biggest roles. Like, she's just like, anything is possible. Like, when you tell her certain things, like we do affirmations on the way to school just every day, so that she, start wiring these powerful beliefs that will serve her. And I'm like, oh, what affirmations do you want to say there? She's like, I'm worthy, I'm confident, I'm beautiful. I'm like, wow, I want to be you, figure out. So she's amazing. There's so much wisdom in children. I just want to keep that and have her never lose it. But I have role models for so many different things. I have an amazing mentor of mine, a lady called Danny Johnson. She really taught me that, she taught me all about how to thrive in career without sacrificing your personal life, and also to support the poor and the needy. So this is why I have a social business now, because of what Danny taught me. In fact, she even took me on a trip with her to Nicaragua, where we built houses for the poor. So I have a lot of deep respect for her. I have incredible, and so if you don't know, that's another person you could reach out to for help, by the way. DannyJohnson.com is incredible. I have so many for different things. I have Tyler Perry right now. Do you know who Tyler Perry is?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, Tyler Perry. He's huge in America. He's a guy that was literally.
Oh, Tyler Perry. I've heard of Tyler Perry. Yeah.
Yeah, he's homeless. He was homeless at one point, kind of going after this dream of, being a film producer, film and theater producer. And literally, he had years of like literally living in his car because he couldn't afford anything, trying to put on these shows to entertain people, and it would fail, and it would fail, and it would fail. And he just never gave up until one day, like literally, after losing everything, he was like, oh, I'm just going to do this one show and give up. And he turns up, he goes and he looks outside, and there's a whole line of people waiting to queue in to come to his show. And ever since that day, he's had blockbuster after blockbuster. He's got his own studios now. He's a billionaire. I love a good writer story, and he just exemplifies everything about just not giving up. I love so many people. I take inspiration from literally anybody. I love what you're doing. At age 26, I was like, oh my goodness. I think I was doing better with my life, but nowhere near trying to kind of get a message out into the world to help people, to better myself, to turn my traumatic experience into what is going to change my life and change that. It's mind blowing to me. So I find
thank you.
In any and everybody, because I really believe that each and every single person has the divine, has brilliance, has something in them. And based on who I'm trying to be, who I'm trying to become, I see that God in you. And I'm like, wow. But I see in so many people. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, no, it's perfect. No, I really appreciate that, Maxine. It's really, really kind of you, and it really, really means a lot. And really appreciate it. And I really connect with you and resonate with you, and I see you as role model and mentor as well. And I really respect who you are and what you're doing, and your journey as well. And it's really, really, really moving.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. But where can people find you on social media? And
so basically, you can find. Actually, probably the easiest way is to go to my website, which is www.thefutureisgreater.com. Because literally on the homepage, then you'll be able to connect me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and just get all the free resources there, or even email me from there. But everything's right there on the homepage, thefutureisgreater.com.
No, that's awesome. great. But it's been lovely talking to you, and I wish you all the best in what you're doing, and I'll stay in touch with you, and even if you want to do this again sometime, I mean, I'll be happy to.
Sure, that sounds great. Well, thank you so much, Adam. It's been such
No,
a delight. I really appreciate this conversation and appreciate being here. Thanks for having me. Wish
no,
you
you're
all the
most no, you're most welcome, and
you listening as well. I wish you all the best. The future is greater
yeah,
and everything is possible.
that's it exactly. And I hope you take something from it, and I wish you all the best, and thank you everyone for listening. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.